as soon as we get into diet, people are not willing to flex. Everything has to be this, like boxed in, raw, vegan, you know? And then they sacrifice their health on all other levels, but they're raw vegan. I want to talk a little bit today about the subject of identification, attachment to diet. You know, I'm a raw vegan, I'm a fruitarian, I don't eat any cooked food, that sort of idea. Let's just say first that obviously raw food are ideal. Fruit is our ideal food in its raw, natural, whole state. Okay? As soon as you start eating something that's cooked, you are compromising your health. You're eating less than ideal foods. Of course, this is obvious. So in a sense we could say the ideal is raw fruit. That is the ideal. Then there's a sliding scale of less and less ideal foods until you end up at something like, you know, something completely inedible, like dirt or something. It's not even food. Let's just keep it at food. So the opposite would probably be meat, you know. Animal products, high fat, low carb, kind of not optimal human foods essentially. And then there's a sliding scale of everything in between. But you know, this kind of concept of ideal and then really bad and then everything in between, this applies to every element of health. You know, there's enough sleep, which is optimal, and then there's no sleep, which is deadly over time. And then there's everything in between. There's perfect clean air without pollution and with, you know, maximum amount of oxygen. And there's polluted, you know, oxygen poor air in the other end, and everything in between. Water, you know, there's clean water and there's dirty water. Okay, there's this sliding scale applies to everything. Yet it seems everyone is cool with sort of flowing around the scale a little bit when it comes to water, when it comes to air, when it comes to sleep. But as soon as we get into diet, people are very identified with this idea of I am a raw vegan, I am a fruitarian, I eat strictly raw foods. And then going off it, just even if it's just down to like, you know, cooked potatoes or something like that, not ideal, immediately it's just like, oh, you're off, you know, you're no longer a raw vegan, you can't call yourself a raw vegan. But you know, that's what I want to say, like, why do we have to call ourselves raw vegans? Why do we have to call ourselves, because we don't do that with fresh air, for example. We don't call ourselves fresh air breathers. I'm a fresh air breather. Oh yeah, it's been 3 years now since I had some polluted air. I've been breathing fresh air ever since. No, we all acknowledge that life is full of compromises. We all agree that fresh air is obviously the cleanest, the best. But you know, we go into cities, we go into houses where the oxygen level isn't as high, and we breathe air out, and it's a little bit more polluted, dust, that sort of thing. But you know, we make our best efforts to keep the air clean. It's not that we would like to have poor air, but we go into houses and okay, it's not the best air. We go into cities, it's not the best air, but we're okay with that. We might be striving to get the best air quality by changing our lifestyle, moving to a place where we can be outside more. This is great. Same comes with water. You know, we might be striving to have clean water. We'll use a water filter. We'll these kind of things. But every now and then we're out traveling. We'll have some bottled water. Oh, there's BPA in the water. Yes, that's not good. That means we're down on the sliding scale again from optimal. We're moving towards not as good. But I mean, I haven't heard about anyone saying they're strictly on a clean water regimen and they haven't had anything but optimal water for the last 10 years. But with diet, this is how it is. Everyone is very identified with the raw vegan diet, with the fruitarian diet, with the paleo diet, with whatever they're on, whatever they're doing, whatever program it is. This is kind of what I've been thinking a lot about lately, and how I think it can be quite limiting to our experience. Look, I'm not saying that potatoes are as optimal as a fruit. And I know I talk a lot about this issue. I have talked more about it lately because it's been on my mind. But more and more I've seen this kind of attachment issue come up in myself and I see it in others. I see people being strictly raw and condemning people that eat any cooked food, going like, they're not raw vegans. Oh, they're eating cooked food. They're eating cooked food. They're not good. They're eating cooked food. But then they do not take care of their sleep needs, for example. I mean, I go to bed early every night. I don't see anyone else almost that are as, I don't want to use the word diligent, but me and Mads, we go to bed when we're sleepy early. But I've never seen almost anyone else do that. And that's okay. Most people are just, they're staying up late, they're compromising on their sleep. Even a lot of people in the health movement, raw food movement, people that are teaching others about health, they're not taking care of their own health when it comes to sleep. They're willing to compromise in that regard. Yet, they are very strongly identified with the idea of being a raw vegan, and they would never compromise with that. And here's the thing. Optimal is optimal, and that's an ideal, and that's something to strive for, and if you could manage to stay in that place, that's cool. But I mean, life is, I don't know, I mean, I could move to the tropics and stay there permanently, but I love Norway. I like Norway. That's my home. I like going in the summer. I'd rather stay away from there in the winter, but I love Norway, and I make compromises to be able to go there. I like cities. I was in Sydney just now. It was so cool. I like the big city. I love the big urban vibe and all the intensity. It's not healthy though. I'm stressing. It's more stressful with all those people. It's more pollution, all those kind of things. Sydney didn't have really the best fruit. Compromises. But you know what? I'm into living a relaxed life. Okay, as in not relaxed in the physical sense, but in a kind of don't sweat the small stuff kind of way. Yeah, like I would like to have the best water, but I'm not gonna spend my whole day thinking about that and making that, I'm thirsty, I'm gonna drink, even if I have to drink the tap water with chlorine in it. I'd rather avoid that, probably drink bottled water instead, neither of which are optimal, but okay, that's okay. Sometimes I have spring water and it's just pristine, like in Costa Rica, but that's then, and then I'm in Norway and I have to drink something else. I go into cities, I'm willing to compromise a little bit. I'm not going to be strict about I'm going to live out in the wild because I need the pristine air quality. No, I like to go into cities, so I'm willing to do that compromise. And the same is true with diet. I promote a high carbohydrate raw food diet as optimal. I talk about how fruit is the optimal diet for humans. Does that mean that I always eat optimal though? No, it doesn't mean that. It all depends on my circumstances. If I'm not able to source good quality fruit, and when I say that, let's just simplify it. If I can't source enjoyable fruit. Wow, it's very interested in the camera, isn't it? If I can't source fruit that I enjoy eating for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I'm not gonna stick to the raw food diet because it's optimal. I have to be raw. I can't eat anything but fruit. I'd rather fast. No, I'm actually objective about it, and I know that if I make a small compromise in my diet and I eat some cooked food like sweet potatoes, even rice, I know that's not a huge compromise. Like nutritionally, theoretically, it's not a huge deal, and I feel pretty good doing that. Like, it's not a big deal. I don't feel as well as when I'm eating all fruit, but I feel pretty good. Optimal? No, it's not optimal. It doesn't feel optimal. It doesn't give me optimal results. But you know what? I'm okay with not having optimal results. If optimal results were just like that, yeah, I would like optimal results. But I mean, I'm not gonna make a sort of a rule that I have to do what is optimal, that kind of perfectionist attitude. I'm not gonna have that in terms of my diet, in terms of anything in my life, because I don't see it as beneficial. I see it as something that will actually bring me more down than it will give me empowerment. So I mean, this is a complicated issue. I have so many thoughts. I'm not sure if I'm able to sort of channel them in exactly the right way as I'm thinking about them usually right now. Sometimes it's difficult to get ideas that are not completely defined in your head and get them into words and put it into a video. So, you know, there might be a lot of room for misunderstanding what I'm saying here as well, but I guess I'll try to conclude it. I'll try to sort of summarize it like this. Rather than being personally identified with what I eat, because as we all know, you know, we eat on a day-to-day basis. So if I say I'm a raw vegan, what does it mean? Does it mean I've been a raw vegan all my life? No, I used to eat, so I've been a raw vegan since a certain point. Okay, well, what if I have something that's not raw at one point, like, you know, today? Let's say I've been raw all up today and then I have something cooked. Am I no longer a raw vegan then? Or no, I'm not, because I just ate something cooked, but am I starting again tomorrow? From tomorrow I'm a raw vegan. But then 2 years later, can I say I've been raw vegan for like 5 years? Or do I have to say I was raw vegan for 3 years, then I ate cooked food for 1 day, and then can you see what I mean? It just gets like super duper complicated. I mean, rather than identifying with the diet and actually calling myself a raw vegan or saying I'm a fruitarian, I'd rather just not say anything. I'm a human. I'm into health. I'm into making good choices. That's something I am. I like good choices. I like good results. So I make certain choices that give me good results. It's as simple as that. Now, when I'm talking about health, when I'm talking about optimal health, there is the ideal and then there's everything else. Yeah, we can sort of discuss and talk about this, and it's a science. It's a science of health. What is ideal? What is optimal? What is the perfect food for humans? What is the perfect water? How much should we eat? How much should we drink? How does this work? How does this work? That's something interesting to talk about. And when we establish that fresh, clean, oxygen-rich air is the best, and that fresh, clean water is the best, and that fruit, tropical, quality, fresh, ripe, raw fruit is the best for human beings, we can be okay with that. We can sort of say, okay, we put a flag down there, this is optimal. But as soon as we identify with it, and again, remember, we're only doing this with diet almost. No one identifies with their sleep patterns to say, I'm an early nighter. Yeah, I've been an early nighter for 3 years. Never once went off the early night lifestyle. No one does that. It says people might say things like, yeah, I like to go to bed early. Yeah, I prefer going to bed early. I do that, you know, but yeah, I stay up late sometimes. Oh yeah, I stay up all night sometimes, or, you know, it varies when I go to bed. And I feel like, why is it okay for everyone to sort of flow a little bit with everything except diet? As soon as we get into diet, people are not willing to flex. Everything has to be this, like boxed in, raw, vegan, you know? And then they sacrifice their health on all other levels, but they're raw vegan. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying don't strive for ideal. I'm not saying that fruit is not optimal. If you're able to source quality fruit and you're enjoying it, by all means, that is the best, and that's what I'm doing most of the time. But, you know, if I suddenly want to eat something other than fruit, I'll go ahead and I'll eat it to the degree that I'm happy about the results, you know. I won't go off the vegan diet though, because I have strong ethical decisions in that regard, so I'm not gonna compromise in terms of vegan. But I am willing to compromise in other ways, and especially if it comes to the point where the fruit that I'm able to get is not something I enjoy eating, and I'm finding myself in a situation where I have to sort of work hard to make the raw vegan diet happen and to stay raw. I don't care about staying raw. Just like I don't care about staying fresh air breather. I just see what is optimal and I see what is not optimal, and then I try my best to the degree that I'm willing to and feel easy to do. I sort of flow around the top part of this spectrum in pretty much all regards. I prefer the best quality water, the best quality fruit. But if I can't find it, if I can't get it, if it takes too much effort, or if it's for some reason I want to eat something else, or I want to go into the city or whatever, I flow down here, I compromise a little bit, no problem. I don't care about it really. I don't worry about it. So some people, watching our channel, they might think that, oh, we are fruitarians, we are strictly eating fruit, we are not compromising. And the truth is that we eat fruit out of preference, because it gives us the results we want, it tastes the best, it just overall feels the best. But I'm not fruitarian by religion, if you know what I mean. I'm not religiously raw, I'm not religiously fruitarian, I'm not religiously going to bed early. I go to bed early most of the time because I enjoy that. But it's the identification part that I'm finding funny. And I guess this video is not about saying what is right or wrong, or what you should do, what you should not do. It's simply highlighting an issue that I've seen a lot and that I've thought about, basically. This issue of identification when it comes to diet. Let's relax, okay? Let's relax and have an objective outlook on diet. Let's just recognize what is optimal and what is not optimal, and let's just do our best. And that's all that's necessary. We don't have to identify, we don't have to go on the raw vegan diet, we don't even have to go raw. The whole idea of going raw never appealed to me. Even in the beginning, when I started eating all raw, it wasn't a decision. I didn't say I'm gonna go raw now. I was just like increasing my intake of raw foods, and it was just at a certain point all my foods were raw, and I was like, wow, I'm eating all raw. But I mean, it's just, if I'm gonna have a pizza one day, am I never gonna have a pizza again? I didn't say I'm never gonna have a pizza again. I was just like, maybe I'll have a pizza later, but for now I just prefer this. Have I had pizza since then? I have, actually. I have had pizza a couple of times. Tastes good, doesn't feel all that good, doesn't feel all that bad either, but the next day I'm like, I'm good, I want my fruit again now, because it's what I prefer. So yeah, I find personally for me that works. I don't like boxing myself in and following rules. I like to make my choices based on preference, and I urge you to do the same. Do what you prefer, because in the end, who cares? I mean, I feel like when it comes to the vegan thing, I care. Like, let's just stop killing those animals, okay? Torturing those innocent animals, that's just not okay, okay? So go vegan, okay? Identify with that. Let's be vegan, because that's an important message. But in terms of what you do to your own body and what you're willing to do to yourself, I'm not gonna live a life of restriction, and basically I feel like life is not worth living if it's an effort, okay? If you have to put so much effort into everything, is it really worth it? I mean, is it worth living a life where you're strictly breathing fresh air because you're living in a pristine natural surrounding, but you're always missing the city? You're like, oh, it would be cool to go into that big city, but no, I can never go in there. The air is bad quality. That's a waste of life. Go into the city, move into the city. If you're a city person and you dig being in the city, just write off that part of your health. You're gonna, your air quality is gonna suck, but anyway, you're gonna be happy, right? I mean, if that's what you want to do. And the same comes for diet. Don't just do a raw vegan fruitarian diet when it means a compromise in your preferences, if you will. But of course, when you're not healthy, you're not able to enjoy life, so there's certain balance that has to be struck there, but you're going to be the only one who's able to find that balance. My point is, go with the flow. Do what you want. Judge by results. Be willing to make compromises if you have to, or if you want to. It doesn't have to be all that serious, And yes, I'm going to continue to use the word raw vegan and fruitarian. It's a way to communicate, right? If I'm going to talk about the raw vegan diet, it's kind of keywords. I'm making YouTube videos here. I want to reach people that are searching for certain terms, and they, yes, I'm going to continue using those terms, but on a personal level, I don't really identify with those terms as strongly as I did at one point. Okay, because I've noticed, oh, this is a long video, but that's okay. If you're still with me, super cool. That means you really care about this subject like I do. I noticed when I guess when I first introduced some cooked foods in my diet again after almost 3 years of eating all raw, I was a little bit guilty. I felt a little bit guilty. It was not very much because I'm pretty relaxed, but even to this day, if I have a meal that is cooked, I sort of feel somehow that I'm violating some kind of religious rule, or I see all the other people that I look up to, health pioneers, health promoters. I see them eating an all raw diet apparently, and then I feel kind of like, oh, they're judging me, or like, I'm not living up to that ideal. But then I see that same person skimping out on their sleep, or I see this other person that, oh yeah, sure, he's eating all raw, but he's living in a place with crappy air quality. What's going on? And here's the thing, they're just willing to make those compromises because they dig it. They're willing to sit up all night eating durian, even though it's not healthy to eat that much durian, and even though it's not healthy to stay up all night. They're willing to do it because who freaking cares? Life is here to be lived. I want to sit up all night eating durian, I'm gonna do it. Personally, I don't sit up all night eating durian, but I might suddenly have a burrito. If I'm in the city and I'm just like, oh, that burrito looks good, I might have it. You know what I mean? I'm willing to compromise in certain ways that they're not. They're willing to compromise in certain ways that I'm not. Who's compromising more than who, and who's making the biggest compromise, and is he really into health, or is he really into health? Am I really into health? Who cares? Who cares if I'm into health? Who cares what I'm into? Who cares what I'm doing? No one cares what I'm doing. I don't even care. I just care about following my highest excitement, doing what I love, following my passion. And when it comes to food, I'm really passionate about the raw vegan diet. I'm passionate about health. I'm passionate about fruit. Does that mean I always eat fruit? No, it doesn't. But I do it most of the time. Does it mean I always breathe fresh air? No, it doesn't. But I do it most of the time because I prefer how it makes me feel. Okay? Anyways, that was probably the longest video I've ever made. And I think I'm gonna just leave it that long rather than cutting it down. If you're still with me, then I know you could dig what I was talking about, and I appreciate your time watching these videos. Here I am, all alone, no one around me, talking to a camera, but then there you are, watching the video. Very strange phenomena, and very much fun. Gives me a lot of great joy to be able to share my thoughts and opinions with you, and I appreciate your feedback in the comments. I appreciate that you're watching the videos, and I appreciate you basically. All right, it's a good day here in Thailand. I had papayas for breakfast, so good. I'm going to eat bananas for lunch. For dinner, I'm having mangoes, Nam Dok Mai mangoes and some coconut. Super epic diet here in Thailand. I'm breathing fresh air most of the time. They're burning sometimes as well, which is not nice. I'm getting good sleep. It's all good, almost, but I'm missing Norway though. I do miss Norway, so it's not always perfect, but we do our best. We go with the flow. We live our life. That's what it's all about. Life is to live. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. Especially if you made it this far, you better subscribe. And yeah, stay tuned for the next video. See you.